Hello, students. Okay, so we're going to be talking this week about the second part of our Faith Ringgold project. Now, you can see here that I drew the George Washington Bridge from the Tar Beach book. However, I told some of you during lessons that you don't have to draw this scene specifically because Faith Ringgold made a bunch of different story quilts, which we talked about, with different subject matter. So, there are some separate expectations that I'm going to talk about, but they all kind of fit to a larger whole. If you did this bridge, if you use this as reference, I need you to draw a little figure above for this, and I need you to do full color here, and I would like you to color in the border as well. So those are my expectations for you. A figure flying above, full color, border. The different expectations would be if you do a different scene, is I want it to be well drawn, full color border. And that's it. But let's talk about the stuff that I have, the materials I used in this piece to pull it all together. So I used watercolors. I used lots of different crayons. And I think I touched some stuff up with a black marker or a Sharpie. So those are the materials I used because we already, did so much work in the beginning. It was just crayons, watercolors, and a Sharpie. But that's it. Let's get started. Hey pals. Okay, so I'm getting to work on fixing up my drawing or finishing coloring everything in. And I decided to do some little flowers right here. I thought it would be cute and would sort of spice up my design. Just a little bit of a plug. You can see these crayons I'm using. They are construction paper crayons. And if you come to the distribution day on February 10th, I have 16 of these construction paper crayons for you to pick up. So come get them. Anyway, I'm going to spend a little while coloring these in, just doing my best to make it look nice and neat. And this did take a while, but I didn't mind it much because in the end it looked nice. So you don't have to do this triangular border pattern. This is in reference to a Faith Ringgold quilt that we looked at. We talked about the triangles making up the squares and all that good stuff. But, plenty of you during class made different patterns that were really gorgeous and beautiful that I loved. So the time here is to be spent coloring in your border. Okay, here we go. I'm going to draw the little figure we're making. You can see that I'm just drawing a stick figure, and then I'm going to put some clothes around my stick figure to make the stick figure look a little bit more real. And at this point, I didn't even erase the lines inside of the clothing I drew for my stick figure. I wanted to do this to see how well I could cover up the pencil lines with my crayon. Now, I'm going to recommend that if you do this stick figure method, to erase the inner lines of the stick figure because it will look a little bit better. I was okay with how it came out, but my figure is pretty small and I just wish I took the time to erase that inner stick figure line. But I wanted to test it out for you. So now that I've done that, I'm coloring in the clothing and making my stick figure look a little bit nicer. I wanted to point out here that usually when I draw my stick figure, I make her look a little bit like myself. I usually draw her with like kind of yellowy hair because I have kind of yellowy hair. Um, but you can make your stick figure look like yourself. Make it look however you want. You don't have to draw it like mine. That's the real point I wanted to make here. In this next part, I make some ocean waves in some different colors with a crayon, and I do a couple layers of that. Just under the bridge, there's going to be some water, so I went ahead and put that in there. I'm also a big fan of my metallic crayons, and I have some crayon stubs. I just like these crayons and how sparkly they are, so I went ahead and did some detail in the bridge. Totally unimportant. I just wanted to point out why I was doing it. Okay, guys, it is watercolor time. So I'm gonna grab my watercolors and my water, obviously, and do a little bit of a blue wash. And I do just a regular blue, sort of at the top. And then in the water, I do a sort of bluish green. You can see here how those little white dots that I put around my bridge come out really nicely once we throw that watercolor on there. And that I can just draw pretty much right over my crayon person. As long as I did the whole thing, I colored the whole thing with crayon. I think her face ends up being kind of blue because I missed parts of the face with the crayon. So just keep that in mind if you end up doing this nice watercolor wash. If you don't have a watercolor palette, of course, you can use marker or whatever you have at home. Okay, watercolor wash is done now, and I was wanting my figure to stand out a little bit more, so I just went ahead and grabbed a Sharpie, and I was going to do a little Sharpie outline of my little figure here. At this point, I was kind of wishing that I used a pen or something like that because my Sharpie is kind of worn down at the top and it doesn't give me a very fine line, which I always sort of want with this sort of stuff. But again, this is not required. I did it because I thought it would make it look a little bit nicer. But you know, it's all a matter of preference. I think I also went ahead and put some on the waves here too. Okay, but we're getting towards the end here. I hope you enjoyed this project. And if you did a different scene inside, just keep the same ideas in mind. But I'm looking forward to seeing these. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.